these are all just, this is just speculate. This is just like a best case scenario. Like, I don't necessarily think this will happen, but let's say it does work and it goes great. And let's say they don't make it to the finals, but let's say they lose like a tough 7 to the Warriors, right? They play the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, lose in a tough 7, and things are really good. What do the Lakers do then with Russell Westbrook? Do they just let him go? Or do they say, man, we were right there. Russ was great. We were a missed basket away from being in the finals. Or let's say Steph hit a game winner or something. Like, we were a Steph Curry miss away from being in the finals and probably winning a championship with this team. Like, that would be the biggest like wrench thrown in I could see, because like, I think right now the idea is we either trade Russ at some point this season, or we just let him walk and we got the cap space. But if Russ does work, that could be a huge monkey wrench thrown in at just everything. Because do you really let him walk at that point?
I don't know. I don't know. Would you let him walk? Because see, what kind of season are we talking about? Are we talking about like an average triple-double season? What are we talking about? What kind of season we're talking about?
I mean, I don't even need something like that. Like, let's say he gives us the 18-7-7, right? That he gave us last year, but like effectively and efficiently, right? Like, let's say he's like 45% from the field. He's setting the screens, he's doing all the dirty work, he's playing defense, like basically everything that Darvin Ham wants him to do. Let's say he does that, and he still gives you, or let's just call it 15-5-5. Let's say 15-5-5. He is a legitimate third option, playing at both sides of the ball. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be an elite defender, but playing both sides of the ball and doing the dirty work. Like, what do you do if you're the Lakers at that point? Like,
but 2 questions though: consistent and clutch. Like, would he be like, okay, with a consistent and clutch? Are you including those things or no?
I mean, well, consistency, yeah. So if he's being efficient and effective, then he's being consistent, right? But clutch, I mean, he's never going to be a clutch guy. He's never going to be a guy. He's not going to be a Kevin Durant or a Kyrie Irving or something like that, which, like, you have LeBron James, who historically and statistically is the most clutch player of all time. So, and most likely you want LeBron or somebody else to shoot that game winner regardless.
Oh no, you're talking about the game winner. I'm talking about just in like that game 6, game 5, when it matters like highly. Is he keeping up the same performance that he's kept up all year long, or does he kind of like? Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying best case scenario. Let's say all things. Let's say all things go great. Let's say he turns and blossoms as like the third option on this team. He's given us 15-5-5 night in and night out. He has like a 30-point game or a 20-point. He has little things here and there, but for the most part, he is just consistently averaging 15-5-5. It's noticeable. Like, the eye test, like everything looks good, and you're like, man, they really made this work. Let's say they're like, top 4 seed. They get into the playoffs. They win the first 2 rounds. They're in the Western Conference Final. I mean, obviously, if they go to like a finals or they win the championship, which I'm not saying they would, I'm not saying anything like that, but like, you never know. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks were in the Western Conference Finals, and look, I like Dallas, but that was a shock to everybody outside of Dallas fans. Nobody thought they were going to be in the Western Conference Finals.
No.
And so, like, if everything goes well and like you lose a tough 7 or something like that, and like, let's say you just steamroll to the Western Conference Finals, or you steamroll through the West period, you're in the finals. Let's say you lose in the finals. Like, do you just not bring Russ back? Or if you win a championship, especially if you win a championship, do you just not bring Russ back? You just say, hey, thanks for the championship. Good luck to you. Like, you just won a championship with him.
See, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I guess it depends on what's available, and is it worth giving up the championship chemistry, the championship like DNA that you have on your team at the moment? You know what I mean?
Because the other thing too that would be really good about, like, if that made up scenario happened, Russ regardless is never going to be a $47 million a year guy. So he would be probably the cheapest option the Lakers would have, because they could probably sign him for 15 to 20 million and he'd be happy, and then you'd still have cap space to improve the roster. and do things, especially if you can get him for like 15 million, because Kyrie is going to be all your money. You're going to have to do and maneuver some stuff and figure some stuff out to make the money work to get Kyrie. And Kyrie's probably going to have to take a pretty good pay cut, a pretty good haircut, although if he's leaving the Nets, this is just my opinion, but if he's leaving the Nets, I think he's going to take a pay cut anywhere he goes, because I don't think any team's going to want to give him the max unless it's a team like New York just wants him just to have him to sell tickets and stuff, like something like that. Like I could see a team giving him the max, but I look at it, I'm just like, what if that happened? Because all of us just like are on the assumption, like, and I've been very like optimistic about that.
You have.
I've been very optimistic about that. But
I have a lot of hope and a lot of faith.
Yeah, I think it's in Russ. I just think he has to be willing to make the sacrifice, make the changes. Humbleness.
Do you think he's getting a little old though? I know he's young, but do you think he's getting a little, up there?
No, I mean, because the problem is I until he starts losing that athleticism, he'll be fine. Like the problem is right now, he's so dependent on the athleticism. He's an athletic freak. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is incredible. But eventually you see that stuff start falling off. Yeah. So, but I think he's probably got another contract in him after this season. So you're talking another like 3 to 4 years before I think you start seeing a decline. But I just think if it does work, you'd be able to get, you're probably going to get him back for like I said, 12 to 15 million, if not, let's just call it 18 million. You can still free up another like 12 to 15 million. So you could actually go get another guy and then round out your roster. I don't necessarily think that would happen, but it's at least an interesting thought of like, because it is a possibility, as much as people like to pretend like it's not. It is. Like if they work, they could be very scary. Like, it's just, can it work?
Do you have him in your top 5 of the point guards that are playing today?
No. Out of like all the point, I'd have to really think about it, but probably not. Like off the top of my head, I'd probably have like Ja, not in any particular order, but like Ja, Steph, it depends on if you consider Luka a point guard, which he kind of is. So like Luka, guys that. I mean, you could even make an argument LeBron. I know he plays.
Yeah, there's so many like mixed.
Yeah, there's so many of those like point forward guys. Like, so I mean, he might end up being like 20th on my list. But like, I mean, if you can get good value for him and it works, you gotta at least explore that. You know what I mean? Like I said, if it's working. And like I said, you make it to a finals or you lose in a tough 7 to like a Warriors or a Clippers or something like that. I mean, it might be worth like looking at, especially if you can get him reasonable. If you can get him for say, 12 million or 15 million or something like that, like that means you could get him, it works now, and you'd have another like 20 plus million to go get other assets. You could go get like a Gary Trent Jr., who is 24 years old, 3-and-D guy, led the league, I believe, in like 30-point games last season or something like that. Or he was like top 3, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, like you could still do like a lot. Because like I said, guys like Kyrie and stuff, that's all your money. Your money's gone if you go get him. And it's just like, but I mean, you're asking for a lot to have him.